Welcome back to Horn Takes. It's Thursday morning. It's cold as shit outside. We've got single digits where I live and wind chill way below zero. Not cool. So we're gonna stay warm today. We're gonna stay in the house. First day of Christmas vacation for me. All right. Texas basketball. Third game in a row without Chris Beard. And they went out and dropped 100 on the Raging Cajuns. Raging Cajuns, 10-1 team coming into this game. I don't think they've really played anybody good until they played Texas last night. But 10-1's 10-1. Texas beat them 100-72, despite having 15 turnovers. Texas was just absolutely on fire last night. Shot 58% from the field, 55% from three. Had 5 scores in double digits. Arterio Morris finally has the breakout type game. You know, the type of game that people were really excited that he might be able to consistently have at Texas. Maybe not consistently have because it's a pretty damn good game. 25 points for Arterio Morris. He's a really athletic, like dynamic type dude. And I think, you know, before the season started, they had an exhibition with Arkansas where apparently he went off. Nobody got to see that game unless you were there. Apparently he went off in that game. And then for most of this season, he's really struggled, especially from three. He just hasn't been able to find that rhythm. I think he's just trying to find his spot on the team. There's a lot of good guards on this team. And I think for him, he's been pressing. So I don't know. Maybe last night was kind of a breakout for him, and it'll get him comfortable and confident. Marcus Carr and Timmy Allen rounded out the scoring leaders with 17 each. So, again, another guard scoring a lot. You got Timmy Allen kind of down low, playing that big man role. 100-72, pretty big win. 3-0 without Chris Beard, and with all the stuff going on with Chris Beard, which again we know nothing. There's been absolutely zero coming out of Austin about where the Chris Beard situation is. I don't know. It is what it is. We're well into bowl season now. And I got to be honest, I haven't watched a single bowl game. I forgot when they started bowl games. Last Friday, last Thursday maybe. So we're roughly a week into bowl games. I haven't watched a single one. There's just way too many bowl games. When I was a kid, I don't remember there being this many bowl games. I remember there being maybe like 10 bowl games, 15. I'm sure there was more than that. And I grew up in the sticks, man. We had an antenna that you had to go twist when you wanted to change it from one channel to the other. So I'm sure there were other games, other bowl games when I was a kid. But it definitely wasn't this many bowl games. We would get up and watch bowl games on New Year's Day. Maybe there was some on New Year's Eve. Now you got bowl games that start pretty much the week after the regular season. A couple weeks after the regular season for most teams. Too many of them. There's lame matchups. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about most of these. I talked about a few earlier before bowl season that I thought would be interesting, that UTSA and Troy game, that Cure Bowl, but that was just because it was in Fenway Park. I didn't care about the teams. And honestly, I don't care about any of these bowl games until about December 28th. That's when anybody that's really relevant, good, whatever, starts playing bowl games. The names have just gotten completely stupid with bowl games. It used to just be the Cotton Bowl and the Orange Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl. the Rose Bowl, Citrus Bowl. And then it became like the Mobile One Cotton Bowl and the Poland Weeder Cotton Bowl. And it's just, this corporate shit is out of control with college football. I get it. I understand. It's a business. It just shouldn't take like 2 breaths and 14 sentences to say the name of a college bowl game. I think there's a lot of reasons why kind of bowl season blows. Again, we talked about just the lame matchups. There's too many of them. The names are corporate and suck. But then you started in the last few years having all these opt-outs. And listen, I'm not – the old school in me says play football. The business side of me understands why these guys decide, it's not worth it for me to go play in the Poland Weeder independent, Tostito, whatever freaking Texas Bowl. I get it. These guys are now in the mode of trying to think about their future. So I understand it a little bit, but it makes the game suck because the team that you had all season, you don't have anymore. And in some cases, you have guys that are really critical to your team that decide not to play. And so you don't really know what you're going to get going into these bowl games. So I think the opt-outs hurt the bowl season. But I think there's a couple things that maybe even that out. Early signing period. Here in the last few years, we've had an early signing period in December. I don't think it's and I would say, I don't know the numbers, but it's got to be well over 98%, 99% of available recruits are signed during this early signing period. There's very few that decide to wait until the February signing period anymore. So at least now these guys don't have to go into these bowl games and figure out a way to win to keep recruiting momentum. Before most of these bowl games are even played, all these classes are signed. And then I think another cool thing that the NCAA just came out with maybe last week was a rule stating that, and I don't know if it's going to last. They said it's kind of a probationary rule or a rule for this year. I imagine it's going to last. But they said that the bowl games no longer count towards the 4 games that freshmen or any player can play in a season that go against their red shirt. So used to, you had 4 games. Well, back in the day, you had no games. You played a snap, you weren't a red shirt anymore. Then the NCAA said, well, that's kind of stupid. Why don't we let these kids play a little bit? So they instituted this rule that was 4 games. You get 4 games to play in. And as long as you don't play in more than 4 games, you get to keep your red shirt for that season. Now they're saying bowl games don't count towards that 4 games. So we're going to see a lot of guys that you haven't seen play all year, I think, play in a lot of these bowl games, which is cool. It's kind of like maybe a preview for the game for the team next year. So that's my spill on bowl season. I probably won't turn one on until probably December 28th. And that's sad, but that's the way it is. But I think, honestly, I mentioned it earlier, there wasn't like all these bowl games, and they didn't start super early in the season, super early in December like they do now. So I think wait until December 28th is just really going to take me back to my childhood, and I'll watch a bunch of games crammed into like a 3 or 4 day window. It'll be fun. I think the other thing, while we're talking about bowl games and kind of how the bowl season has just kind of lost its luster, I think the college football playoff obviously has aided some in that. And I'm not against the playoff. I think the playoff's awesome. I think the expansion to 12 is better than 4. I think that's probably the sweet spot, 12 teams. You start getting any more past 12 teams, and you just are running into a bunch of teams that really don't have a chance to win the whole thing. And I think that's really past 4, there's not a lot of teams that I feel like have a chance to win the whole thing. And I think that's the goal, is instead of having these two teams that used to play for it, and you left out some other teams that probably had a chance. We're not doing that anymore. So I think that's good. Little Texas recruiting roundup and really program roundup, because we'll talk a little bit more than just recruiting. And by the way, I'm trying to get Mike on the show. We've been talking about trying to get Mike on. We've had him on the show a few times. We've been trying to get him on the show here in the last couple weeks. Obviously, a really busy time for Mike Roach, recruiting analyst from Horns 247. I'm going to try to get him on tomorrow and do a recruiting with Mike show. We'll go a little bit deeper on this Texas recruiting roundup with him if we can get him on. But right now, I think a little bit of big news earlier this week was Agiah Hall left the program, transfer from Alabama, wide receiver, really talented guy. Things just obviously didn't work out for him at Alabama, and I think a lot of it was kind of some off-the-field stuff and maybe just his – and this is speculation. I feel like Nick Saban is probably willing to help guys through off-the-field problems if they're working hard on the field, if they're working hard in class, if they're doing the right things they need to be doing. Otherwise, I think Nick Saban's the type of coach that's going to say, well, this guy's putting in effort. He just needs to put it in another spot as well. He needs to take care of himself off the field. So I think there was some off the field stuff and maybe again, just not a lot of effort being put forth in the classroom and in the sports football things outside of actually being on the field. Practice, weightlifting, that type of stuff. So Texas takes a flyer on him, brings him in. He had one catch all year. Basically had starting off before the season ever started, he got in trouble. And according to Steve Sarkisian, he had gotten in multiple incidents since being at Texas, so it wasn't like it was a one-time deal. And I guess they mutually decided they were going to redshirt him, and at that time things were fine. I don't know what happened since then. I know Jaleel Billingsley, his teammate from Alabama, who also transferred in, didn't get a whole lot of playing time at Texas either. He decided he's going to leave and transfer, and ultimately he's now entering into the NFL draft. I don't know who that kid's talking to. I don't know who his people are, but that was a really stupid decision. Not just leaving Texas. I mean, he might have been able to. I'm not saying Texas is where he should have been, but definitely I'm going to go in the NFL. He hasn't done shit. I mean, he's talented. Some team will probably bring him into camp, but I don't know. I don't know enough about the difference between the college game and the NFL game in terms of preparation. And I feel like NFL teams are just absolutely 100% not going to even give you more than that one chance. And if you don't go in there and work your ass off, there's plenty of other guys that will. So I feel like these guys that, I don't know, they feel like they're getting the shaft in college because they're just not going to work. It's not going to get any better for them in the NFL, and it's probably not going to get any better for them at any other programs. So again, Agiah Hall gone. He's going to have to sit out a year. This will be his second transfer. Let's talk a little bit about the 2023 class. So signing day, early signing period still open, but yesterday was the big day. Texas signed most of the guys that they were looking to sign, as well as they kind of stole another one. Their recruiting class is ranked third right now, and they're kind of waiting on DeAndre Moore, who was a commit to Louisville, and I guess Texas has been in with him since way early in the process, and he committed to Louisville. Texas never gave up on him, and it really looks like he was about to announce yesterday. There was a picture from his high school, and they had a lot of guys that were going to D1 schools, and a lot of them going to Louisville. So they had like this big, sort of a ceremony where they were going to let all these guys announce their commitments and all that stuff. And they had an actual nameplate that had the Longhorn logo on it for DeAndre Moore. But literally, there was a lot of buzz in the morning, and maybe about 15 minutes before the ceremony, he just didn't show up. So I don't know I don't know what the deal is there. There's all kinds of discussion and rumor, and it's NIL. He's trying to get teams to give him more money. I have no idea. To me, it almost sounds like he was a silent commit very recently to Texas. They had everything worked out, and then either him or his family decided, they needed more money or they wanted more money, and I don't know. I don't know how all that NIL stuff works, but that's what it seems like to me. Is there's some kind of NIL stuff going on with him. I think Steve Sarkisian's still confident. He mentioned in his press conference yesterday that they're hopefully going to get 2 more today, and that was yesterday. They did not get any more after sort of noon. That the whole class was signed and committed and all that stuff, and nothing happened after that. The other guy's Jelani McDonald, who's a U.S. All-American Bowl guy, so he's going to announce January 7th. I think there's some thought that he may be a commit and may have already signed his letter of intent, and Texas is just kind of letting him, have his moment. So they're not releasing that. I don't know that that's the fact. Anyway, Jelani McDonald's an athlete type guy to Waco, Texas. Projects it maybe like an outside linebacker position. But this 2023 class is really good. It's a really good build on 2022 class. They got the number 1 overall recruit, Arch Manning, number 1 quarterback in the country. They got 3 players that are ranked number 1 in their positions in the country. They got 7 top 100 guys and 13 top 300 guys. They filled some needs with this class. We've been talking all year about linebacker just being a really rough spot for Texas just because they have no depth. Luckily, Jalen Ford stepped up this year and had just an absolutely amazing year. If he wouldn't have done that, Texas would have been really hurt, and they had 1 guy, Overshown. So depth has been a problem at linebacker, and I think this class addresses that. They got 4 of the top 30 linebackers in the country. Anthony Hill obviously is the prize there, the number 1 linebacker in the country. Darian Gallett's a kid out of a small Texas school, Teague, Texas. He played a lot of stand-up linebacker in high school, but I think they might be looking at, spinning him down to an edge. He's a big guy, 6'2", 220. Looks pretty long. So he might be able to do that. And then you got Samaje Burrell, Leona Lafau out of Hawaii. All 4 of those guys are really talented, legit linebackers. Overshown's worked out at linebacker, but that dude was a 5-star safety coming out of high school. Texas has really struggled to bring in elite linebacker talent. Really since Jordan Hicks, when they took him out of Ohio. But this is a really good linebacker class. So much like last year's offensive line problems and how that 2022 class really addressed that, as well as the defensive line. Both of the lines last year were problems, and Steve Sarkisian addressed those in the 2022 class. Linebacker's a problem. He addressed that in this 2023 class. There's another good class in the trenches. They signed 5 offensive linemen. Not the same, ballyhoo big names like they got last year, but some really solid guys. I think there's some guys on that team that are in that class that are going to play at Texas. Lots of big dudes. And then 5 defensive linemen again, and they're mostly edge. They got Sadir Mitchell, big guy out of New Jersey, defensive tackle. He's a 6'3", 330 type guy. He's the type of dude that could probably come in right now and play. Defensive line, especially in the middle, is one of those positions where you can step in as a freshman and have a huge impact. We've seen it a lot at Texas over the years, and I'm sure other places as well. So he's the type of guy that can come in and really bottle up the middle, let those linebackers run, make plays. It wasn't all, great for this class. I think they're really light on defensive back. although the two guys that they did get they're borderline 5-star guys, really good guys. I think they're both going to play a lot. The Manny Muhammad out of South Oak Cliff, cornerback, and then his name's escaping me. The kid out of Louisiana, it's a safety, really good safety. I believe he's the number one player in Louisiana. And then they just signed Gavin Holmes from the portal, a guy out of Wake Forest. I don't know much about him. He's a 4-star type guy. Supposedly had a good season. He's got 2 more years of eligibility left. So that's probably a good pickup. And then they had a visitor from Illinois, Syracuse. They had a visitor in from Syracuse, another DB. I haven't heard much from him since that visit. So I think for the portal, they're probably looking, depending on what happens with DeAndre Moore, they're probably looking for wide receivers and they're probably looking for defensive backs. And I think you'll always take good edge guys. They're pretty short up at running back. Quarterback room is light, but very talented. Steve Sarkisian says he'd like to carry 4. They've got 3 scholarship guys at quarterback. So my dark horse out of this class, this is a guy I really like. He's a 3-star out of DeSoto. He's Jonte Cook's teammate. Trey Wisner. This dude, he's really good, man. He's 5'11", 185 pounds, lines up in the backfield the majority of the time and carries the ball. But he had some plays in the state championship game where he lined up in the slot and made really good catches, like catching the ball with his hands. He's got good hands and speed for days, man. He's a fast kid. I think he's gonna jump right into the sort of Keelan Robinson role and maybe even be more productive in that type of role. And who knows, maybe eventually he kind of, to me, he could be the type of guy that replaces Jordan Whittington when he decides to leave, which, by the way, he still hasn't decided whether he's staying or going. I think he's been practicing for the bowl game, which would kind of lead me to believe he's staying, but there's been no official announcement. So Trey Wisner, that's a name to be watching for the University of Texas in the next couple years. Quick rundown of the rest of the classes. Bama, man, this may be the best class Bama's ever signed. It's pushing Aggie for that highest recruiting class ever. I think Aggie's class was 333 total points. This one for Bama is, I want to say it's 327, 328, something like. So it's really close. They signed 6 5-stars and 24 stars. I think they had 1 3-star in that entire class. Georgia, number 2 with 2 5-stars and 24 stars. And I think, the 5-stars are great. Obviously, as many 5-star guys as you can sign, you want to sign. But I think that 4-star level is where you really make some hay. And this is where Georgia and Bama have kind of separated themselves from the rest of the country. Nobody else has anywhere near that many 4-stars. Texas is sitting at number 3. They've got 4 5-stars and 10 4-stars. Potential of grabbing 2 more 4-stars. And you got Miami sitting at number 4 with 3 5-stars and 14 4-stars. And you got Ohio State. Ohio State's got an interesting class. It's small. It's only 20 guys right now. Georgia, Bama, Miami, they're all at 26, 27 guys. Texas is 21 signed guys right now. So Ohio State sitting there at 20 with 1 5-star, but they've got 18 4-stars. So they're kind of in that same mold as Georgia and Bama with a lot of 4-star guys. So that's the top 5. And it depends. I look at 247. There's other, recruiting agencies out there, recruiting groups or whatever. And I'm sure they're all a little bit different. Ultimately, I don't think it doesn't make a huge bit of difference. If you look at the top 10 teams in one service, they're probably pretty similar to the top 10 teams in the other services. You start looking at the teams that are sitting around 300 points, high 290s, mid to high 290s and 300s and above. It's probably all the same teams across the services. And that's kind of where you have to be to be elite. And you can't just do it once. You got to pile them on top of each other. And that's what Georgia and Bama have been doing. Ohio State's been doing. Been talking a lot about Deion Sanders, so I thought I'd throw in his recruiting class in there. One of the big ideas out there about Deion Sanders is that he's going to come in and just beat the world recruiting at Colorado. I've talked about that on my last podcast. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case, but we'll follow it and we'll see. His first class at CU, 53rd ranked class. I believe when it was announced that he was getting hired, that class was ranked 57th. So he improved it a little bit. To be fair, the composite score for that class is 29th. When you count the high school players and then the transfers that have come in, they only signed 2 4-stars to their high school class. One was actually a pretty high 4-star running back out of Kansas. And then the other was a wide receiver out of Florida, I believe. But the rest of the class was 3 stars, and a lot of these guys are, their national ranking is non-existent. It's not even available. I think it's also worth noting is if we're going to be fair and say they're 29th with the transfers, I think it's fair to say that the best 2 players in the class are his son and the 5-star that he had at Jackson State. So it looks like the big 5-star that he brought into Jackson State last year is going to follow him out to Colorado. So not bad for Deion. We'll have to see if he can continue that momentum. I think there's a lot of reasons why he won't. Speaking of Deion, talked about Deion Sanders. And I've had a lot of conversation, a lot of stuff about Deion on the show the last couple of times. One of the things that, I kind of loosely compared him to Nick Saban in a sort of disingenuous way to get a point across in a video that, and part of that video went up on TikTok, and I've been having a lot of engagement from that video. And the whole point, what most people are saying is you got to have good players. You can't just have a good coach. He's not going to be able to go to CU and turn that thing around. And in fairness, I've actually seen people that have said that, which is why I made the video, to kind of mock those people. It's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. That he's going to – there's people that have said he's going to go win the Pac-12 next year. And that's who that video was in response to. And then a lot of people responded to that video with even Saban couldn't win at Colorado, which I 100% agree with. Saban would not be able to go to Colorado this year and make that team a 7-6 team. They just don't have the talent, and they still don't have the talent. Even with this 29th best composite class, they don't have the pieces in place to go be a 7-6 team. So anyway, I got a lot of comments like that. A lot of comments calling me stupid. A lot of comments calling me racist. Typical bullshit, right? But I did get a really good question this morning. So it's going in the mailbag. The question, why does Nick Saban get top recruits? And I don't know if this person was genuinely asking me why or thought they were making some kind of backhanded point about Nick Saban. I'm not sure, but I'm going to answer the question just on its face. Number one, Nick Saban coaches at a blue blood program. And I'm gonna answer this question, and I'm gonna kind of also respond back because I think this person was trying to make a point about Deion Sanders. So I'll answer the question on its face, but I'll also throw in some retort for the Deion cult. First of all, again, Nick Saban coaches at a blue blood program. Tons of tradition at Alabama, tons of resources at Alabama. Both of those things Colorado does not have. Colorado is not a blue blood program. They do not have any tradition. They do not have resources. You had the AD in an interview the day he announced Deion Sanders was going to be their next head coach, openly saying they don't have the money to pay Deion right now, but he knows he's going to get it. Second reason why Nick Saban's been able to recruit so well and continuously builds these top 10, top 5, basically top 2 classes every single year, he's a proven commodity. This dude's won 7 national championships. He's won 6 of the last 13 national championships. He's put an insane amount of players in the NFL since he got to Alabama. 33 first rounders. Deion Sanders is not a proven commodity. He's been a head coach for 2.5 seasons. And not in a great league. And not having to recruit against the other best recruiters in the country. And not having to play against the best teams in the country. He's won no national championships. He's put 0 people in the league. So when I talk about Deion Sanders and this being an uphill battle for him and sort of this video game attitude that everybody has, that he's just, because he's Deion, kids are going to go there. And he's gonna be able to take. Someone told me yesterday that he was gonna take recruits out of Texas. He's gonna take all the best players out of Texas. No, he's not. Nobody wants to go to Colorado, man. It's cold. They don't even have enough money to pay their coach. They don't have any resources. No. So that's why Nick Saban has been highly successful at getting top recruits. Now, again, I've already said it multiple times. I think Deion he'll make some splash. He will get some splash guys, just like he did last year. But we just ran through the top 5 recruiting classes. Only one of those teams out of that top 5 recruiting class is going to win a national championship in, say, 2 or 3 years. It may not even be any of those teams out of that top 5. It may be someone 5 to 10 or maybe 10 to 15. So the point is, you're looking at a lot of really good recruiting that's not going to make a national championship. Some of it won't make a conference championship. So this whole Deion's going to come in. He's going to get all these great recruits. He's going to start. Someone told me he's going to start signing top 10 recruiting classes. No, he's not. First of all, even if he does, then you got to go win with him. And it's not a video game. It's not that easy. But I'm going to digress on Deion until I put up another video and people lose their minds. Another mailbag question, and this is one I've gotten a million times, is why do I wear sunglasses? And to be perfectly honest, I don't have a good answer for that. There's no specific reason why I wear sunglasses. I wear sunglasses a lot outside. Ever since I got back from Southwest Asia on a all expense paid trip with the U.S. Army, I've been really sensitive to light. But I don't wear sunglasses down here when I do these videos, when I do these podcasts. I don't do that because I got light going on. I think I probably just threw them on when I first started this TikTok account. And I just went with it. I hope that satisfies the massive... Honestly, I know most of these people are just fucking with me because I'm wearing sunglasses at dark. And they... When people don't have anything intelligent to say and no way to rebut anything that you're saying, but it still pisses them off that you said what you said, they come back with stupid shit like, oh, you're wearing sunglasses inside, or, oh, you must be racist, or, oh, you're stupid. Oh, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Zero substance. Oh, you're just a hater. That's my favorite one. Just a hater. So anyway, that's the podcast for today. Again, we're going to try to get Mike on to do some recruiting for Mike. Go a little bit deeper into this Texas recruiting class. Subscribe to the podcast. Tell your friends about the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, which I would love for you to do, go ahead and give it a follow. I'm going to start doing more shorts over there. You can find me on TikTok at Horn Takes Podcast. You can email me at horntakespodcast@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, concerns, criticisms. I love them all. Hook 'em.